Are you taping again? Come on.
Are you taping again? Come on.
I don't know why, but I just love it here.
I don't know why, but I just love it here.
The Silent Hill 2 remake is around the corner, and for many reasons it seems like the most anticipated horror game in the entire decade. It's a game that unites multiple generations of gamers around the globe, and it seems like a legend from ancient history coming back to life. However, the remake has also been one of the most controversial subjects in the horror field for the last 9 months, because the first gameplay that Bloober revealed didn't make any sense for a lot of people who were very excited to see something fascinating. But the amazing part is that since the trailer, things have been taking a weird turn, in a good way. The developers have been releasing gameplay footage like crazy, and people started to feel there's a huge improvement that can actually push them to be excited again. Now that we're just a few weeks away from the game, I thought it's time to summarize the key elements and talk about 10 specific facts that we know about the remake and the changes that might lead the players to give the game a chance or stay away from it. So without further ado, let's start. When people hear the word remake, they usually think it means making an identical copy of the original, with only upgrading the visuals and the gameplay mechanics. However, narrative designers usually think that's not enough to excite players who already played the game before, which leads them to make some changes here and there in order to compose a different experience and fresh events, even if the story is the same. Many of you probably noticed this already when you saw the scene of the first enemy in the revealed gameplay. It was obvious that the place is not the same as the original, and there's a different cycle that leads to the encounter. But what many people don't know is that these changes are literally common across the game. The producer of the game, Motoi Okamoto, I hope I'm not butchering his name, said that they replaced and relocated all the enemies, so everyone can have a fresh take on combat. He mentioned that the goal of these changes is to prove that Konami is serious about making a memorable remake that can feel unique and familiar at the same time. When you think about it, you'll understand how different the experience in the remake will be. Because, logically, when you change where the enemies are, it basically means you change how to deal with them and the events that lead you to them, which means that your playthrough will be nowhere near the original, even when the result is the same. I personally see this as a positive thing, because I already played the original twice, and I would love to see something different. But I wonder what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. If you are a gamer, you probably know very well that UI in games technically operates like a guide to help you navigate the world you're diving into, and it's even more necessary when we're talking about survival horror. For the people who don't know, UI stands for User Interface, and in video games it means the visual elements and interactive components that allow players to interact with the game and receive information. It can be something on the screen like the health bar, the number of bullets you have, a minimap, or simply signs that highlight stuff you need. When you remove all of this, you technically become blind in the game, and your only tool to survive is your own senses, by analyzing what's happening around you. Bloober said that without UI, you need to focus on the game's visuals, sounds, and also the behavior of James, in order to understand where to go or if there's something you missed. It's really a cool feature that you can only care about if you actually want to take the survival experience to a whole new level, which is something I definitely intend to do, to be honest. In a game like Silent Hill 2, it seems like everyone is searching for immersion, because the environment is pretty much half of the experience. The town itself is basically the main antagonist that you need to face throughout your journey. And in order to make this town an absolute hell for you, the remake will also have an option for a 90s filter that can make you feel like you're playing the game decades ago. It takes away many of the colors and it pushes that nightmarish ambience even further. It might reach a point where you actually feel it's too much to handle, considering that the fog is already giving you a hard time. It's not a huge thing to be excited about, but as I said, this is mostly for those people who want to test themselves and live the nightmare in all its forms. To be honest, this one is the smallest change, but for some reason, it's also the creepiest and the smartest at the same time. In the original game, when we save, we used to see a photo of James in the background, as if it were taken in the process. The photo is the same across the game, and it's not really something you focus a lot on. However, and this is a big however, in the remake, saving becomes a little bit more disturbing. And when I say a little bit, I mean a lot. When you reach a red square to save your progress here, the menu will show James's face in real time. In that same moment, you can even see him moving as if he's being watched by something behind the red square. This is really spooky because it makes you think you're being watched everywhere, and might even be all the time. It's like the town is alive and you're never alone as you think. Some rumors even say that sometimes you can see your real face in the game, because the town might reach you in real life and swallow you forever. Okay, the last part was BS, but jokes aside, this save in progress might give us nightmares. Now this element has two sides. It can either be a blessing or it can also be a curse for the experience. The director of the game recently said that the remake will take you between 16 and 18 hours to finish. And it might even reach 20 hours if you are someone who likes to explore everything. Although this was exciting news for some people, it also raised concerns for others on whether the additional hours will contain an actual meaningful purpose and engaging activities, or whether it will just be more walking and looking around. If you ask me, I think it's a combination of both. I do believe the game might have some cool places to investigate and find crazy stuff in, but I also have a feeling that walking here will take way more time than the original, which automatically leads to a longer playthrough. I mean, let's be real, the town here is bigger than ever, and you have an over-the-shoulder view to see it and explore it. It's clear that it will take you time to walk through it, even if you don't do anything. This is why the visuals play a huge role here, because I think walking through this town is scary on its own and gives you that anticipation you'll need before actually facing a physical threat. Anyway, we can never be sure about this unless we play the game ourselves. For many people, one of the most controversial showcases we witnessed in the multiple trailers we watched was not the gameplay nor the visuals. It was a much more casual detail, which was Angela's face. Some people started arguing that it looked weird, and the quality of the face seemed one generation behind James and the rest of the game. However, something didn't add up, because in the same trailer, we saw Angela one more time and she looked completely different. This made me think that the first scene was made with an earlier build of Angela during the early days of development, and Bloober was forced to combine multiple versions of the face design because they were rushed by Konami to release the trailer. This was finally confirmed when we saw the latest gameplay, which was recorded by Japanese players. And here we can see the final version of Angela's face, and it looks way more polished and suitable for her character.
変になってるの。この霧だけじゃなくてね。
She looks like a casual 19-year-old girl, like Angela should be. Some even say this makes more sense than the original, because in the original she kind of looks like she is in her late 20s or early 30s. There are still people arguing about who's more beautiful, as if it's a Miss Universe competition. And it's really weird when we think about Angela's tragic story and what happened to her. Anyway, in my opinion, her design doesn't affect my experience whatsoever, and I really don't care much about these details. But I would love to know your opinions.
失礼。
ごめんなさい。私。
驚かせてすまない。道を聞きたくて。
道を？
In the gameplay videos that we watched so far, people could not avoid noticing that most of them were at 30 FPS. And for someone like me, that was really a panic moment. Because when you tell me to play a survival horror game at 30 FPS, you are basically throwing half of my excitement out the window. With that being said, gladly that's not the case here, because the game can actually run at 60 FPS for PC gamers. But for PS5 gamers, they will have the option to choose between performance mode and get those 60 frames, or they can choose the quality mode, and they can get better visuals but with 30 frames only. This is why I choose the PC in such cases, because I think the best experience with the best visuals will most likely be there. But regardless, both sides will have the 60 frames option available, and this is good news in general. When people realized that there would be some changes in some of the events and the playthrough would be longer, they started getting worried about the endings and whether they would be faithful to the original or not. This is important because Silent Hill 2 was known for having multiple endings, and each one is unique and memorable, whether it's in a sad, tragic way or sometimes in a light-hearted way. However, once again, the director of the game made it clear that all the classic endings will be available in the remake. But at the same time, some reports also say that the remake may include 2 more possible endings that will surprise both the newcomers and the veterans who played the original game. We don't know if this means that the change in the events is significant enough to lead to something we never witnessed before, or if the new endings are just a tiny tweak that doesn't really change the final outcome of the story much. We'll need to wait and see. For people who never played the original game, this might seem like a positive thing. But for me and for players who are familiar with the original, it's actually slightly annoying to see how James's movements here make him seem far away from the average dude that he actually is. I mean, let's not forget, James is a 29-year-old normal guy with a history that doesn't make him skilled in any way. He is just a confused husband, searching for his wife and seeing this nightmarish version of the town for the first time in his life. So you would expect that he will struggle a little bit while moving around, yet in the remake I don't see this at all. We can see him jump over windows in a professional fashion. that seems like Leon in Resident Evil. And he genuinely looks like he knows what he's doing very well, and he can handle being around here as if he's not really lost. Now I know some of you might think this is complaining and nitpicking, but for a game like Silent Hill 2, it's really a big deal to feel that James is struggling. I'm not asking for a lot, I'm just saying that it would be better if James was not passing through the area smoothly like this. The entire experience is literally about James grappling with his trauma and his inability to comprehend the world he's walking through. It's about his confusion, his regret, and his delusions.
Mary?
Wrong again.
And in a realistic dynamic, it's not compelling to make a normal man look like he's a professional agent. However, I do understand why the developers made these minor changes. They know very well that the new generations of gamers are used to this fast-paced survival horror, and there is no place for lack of action in the market anymore. They don't want to repeat the mistake of Alone in the Dark and lose the commercial battle for the sake of being too faithful. So, if you are a veteran gamer who played the original game a long time ago, keep in mind that this remake was not made just for you. It was mainly made to appeal to new players and expand the Silent Hill fanbase, because that's the only way the series can come back again. Anyway, I still see this as a small downside for me, and this is my honest opinion. Just like I praised the stuff that I liked.
See a fart face!
Laura! Laura!
As you all know by now, the remake is not available on all platforms. You can only play it on PS5 and PC. And this is mainly because of an exclusivity deal between Sony and Konami. And to be honest, I think this is a horrible idea for the game in multiple ways. First of all, I don't like the fact that an iconic game like this is becoming exclusive to a certain platform, as if it's part of a monopoly to boost a certain console's business instead of letting all people enjoy it. Secondly, I hate this because it will be harmful for the sales of the game, which is the only metric that can decide whether we will see more Silent Hill games or not. Limiting the number of players in a survival horror game that's already a niche experience is the worst decision ever. I mean, think about it. There are almost 30 million people who own Xbox Series worldwide, and many of them use it as their only platform of gaming. This means that the game is losing potential millions of customers that could really boost its sales. I personally have friends who only own Xbox to play on, and they don't have a PS5 or a gaming PC. This clearly makes us believe that the remake will not take advantage of this demographic of gamers worldwide. This really made me angry because I know very well that if the remake doesn't sell, Konami won't even care if the game is amazing or not. They will consider it a failure and shut down the entire project again. In that case, don't even be excited about Silent Hill F. The majority of Konami's budget went to Silent Hill 2 because they're putting all their eggs on it. If this one flops, then don't expect F to have any better chance. Just don't. It seems that Sony is using the remake to gain some business points against Microsoft. And the only victims are the gamers who got caught in the crossfire. Anyway, let me know in the comments below which platform you have and what system you will use to play the game, and whether you are planning to play the game at launch or wait for a while. this is all for today. I explained the 10 points that personally caught my attention in the remake, and I wanted to share them with you to see what you guys think. Even though we saw a lot of gameplay footage so far, I still don't know if the game will succeed in winning people's satisfaction or not. Watching videos online is one thing, and playing the game yourself is a completely different thing. Anyway, give me a like if you enjoyed the video, and see you very soon.